Hello everyone, welcome to the Corner Library. I'm back. I have returned today is Sunday. I think it's the 8th of June. I'm filming this for you so that I can upload it tomorrow, as I always do, but I do like to explain that to those of you who have just joined the channel. Also, for those of you who have just joined the channel, I always film these in one take, so you will get mistakes and all of that. I don't like to keep editing or turning the camera off unless it's really necessary. There's a catastrophe in the house or something. But anyway, so yes, today is Sunday. I think it's the 8th, and I came back from my little respite / working journey on Friday afternoon. I was away from Monday to Friday, and for those of you who haven't, or you've just joined us on the channel, I went away primarily for a respite, reset, self-reflection journey. But then that really organically morphed into taking footage and filming various towns for our other channel, Australian Book Travels. So I did that on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, which then really only gave me a couple of days to do what I really, I can't say what I really wanted to do, because I really do love traveling and filming for the channels, but it was I only had a few days for me. Now on the Tuesday, on the Monday when I drove down to a town called Warrnambool, which for those of you not in Australia, it is on the coast in Victoria. So it's south from here, around about 4 hours drive. So I filmed for Australian Book Travels on the way down to Warrnambool. And then on the Tuesday, I have a niece who lives in the area of Warrnambool, and I caught up with her all day. We just chatted the whole day, didn't really put the world to rights. In fact, we weren't intending to. It was just a catch up, and we haven't seen each other for a little while. So it was a catch up and just a lovely moochy girls' day, and I enjoyed it. And then on the Wednesday, I went out filming, which I will tell you about in a minute. I went out filming, and then on the Wednesday, I went out filming, and then on the Thursday, I had a whole day at a hot springs and spa. That whole day was just for me. And then on the Friday, of course, I drove home, and on the way home, I was filming for the other channel. Having said that, I have also filmed bits and pieces for us on this channel. I will try and edit those in at the end of this episode, but if I don't get that opportunity, because you'll have to forgive me, I am still at 6 and 7s at the moment. I came home on Friday, and yesterday was really just getting myself, taking things out of the car, unpacking the car. I haven't even started washing all of the clothes and dishes and things that I took away with me. So it was just about that and organising myself a little bit here at home. And then, of course, today is Sunday morning and I'm filming for you. So I am a little bit at odds and sods. I was hoping to have the video with a few adventures for you today, but if I don't do that today, because of course I have to take everything off the camera and I have to edit it all and all of that. So more than likely you'll see a lot more next week. And of course on Australian Book Travels you will see the other adventures to country towns. But yeah, I did want to show you some of the things that you would be interested in, like libraries and street free libraries and bookshops and things like that. So if I don't get that done today, apologies, but I will definitely have it for you next week. Now, having said that, this is a little bit of a, well, the time away was just wonderful. It was mind-blowing, actually, for me. there were a couple of things that went on that were quite pertinent and quite serendipitous. More about that in a minute. And yeah, I was so grateful for that time away, but it wasn't really long enough. I know now, I told you last week that I have a project in the pipeline. It really is in the early stages, so I don't want to jinx it by explaining it all here. Suffice to say, it is a project that I'm working on. It will take quite some time. So, but I promise you, you will all be the first to know once it really takes shape and comes to fruition. At the moment, one of the reasons for going away was not only self-reflection and just a little bit of me time, and a bit more than that actually, but it was also about this project and getting my teeth into it, but it just wasn't enough. And I will explain that actually, because that has a little bit to do with one of the books I purchased and read whilst I was away. So I'll explain more about that. But I realise now that I will have to perhaps take myself away for quite a few, weeks, if not maybe a month or so. I can see that because my project needs my time and my full commitment without interruptions. So it was actually quite good to realise that. So it was fruitful. The whole trip was fruitful. It was absolutely fantastic. It was mind-blowing in some regards. It was cathartic. It was absolutely brilliant. But I will explain more as we go along and in the weeks to come. Now, I think the last week I was partially through Chloe Dalton's Raising Hare. Whilst I was away, I finished this. This is English. It is a memoir about Chloe, who is sorry everyone, I've had to put these on. Sorry if there's a bit of glare from the lights from the windows. Chloe Dalton is a journalist, and a journalist who just travelled the world, a bit of a city girl, not really thinking much about nature. Now, in this, I wanted to tell you actually just the basics. I think I showed you this a few weeks ago when I purchased it, but I'll just let you know. It is Canongate Books, published in 2024. And it's around about 300 pages, 280, something like that. The cover is absolutely stunning, and the end papers are just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Now, this is about Chloe in 2019, I think it was, or 2000. Oh, actually, it may have been a little bit later than that. I may be confusing with another book which I want to show you. It may have been 2021 actually. She is in lockdown like all of us through COVID in England. She travels, or finds herself at her own little country cottage that she is renovating. As I say, not much of a country girl, but just has this getaway from London and from her travels. She comes across this little leveret, which is a baby hare, remembering that hares are native wildlife in England. Chloe doesn't know what she's doing. I won't tell you the whole story, but she finds herself with this hare, and this leveret that grows into a hare. She along the way teaches us, she learns and she teaches us as the reader about hares and subsequently nature, which is not her foray, but it turns out that it is to be her passion. This wasn't just about raising hare. It is about the connection between humans and nature and the devastation that humans create. Being, sorry everyone, I have a little bit of an itchy nose. I don't know why that is. I always seem to have an itchy nose and hair and thing. I think it's because you're confined on the filming and I don't stop. So of course I get itchy nose and things. Anyway, sorry everyone. Chloe, she writes in such a way that it's subtly and beautifully written, with it's not a lecture by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a lecture on wildlife or the environment. It is about her realization of what's going on and how ignorant she was, as a lot of people are, about the environment and the damage that humans do. It's also about connection in a family and in all species, and that connection of all species into nature and the interconnection of species and nature. There's a lot more about this as well. I do recommend it. It is one that I couldn't put down. I found that I was just wanting to know what happened. I was wanting to know what Chloe's realizations and her progress. This was beautiful, and I really, really do recommend it. Even if you're not now into nature or the environment, neither was Chloe, but she takes you on that journey. I think it's extremely, it's certainly one that should be read. I think I've told you all before, I am very, I'm sentimental and a little bit romantic, but I'm also, I grieve easily for life and death. Even though I have multiple animals, and over the years we have had them die and they're sick, and we've had to nurse them through prolonged illness, it never gets any easier to lose an animal, and I know why. It's my personal journey, but I know why it affects me, and I'm just always careful. For instance, when reading books about animals, I can't reread Black Beauty, and I can't reread Watership Down. I'm going to try, it is a goal of mine over the next 12 months, to reread Watership Down. But both of the books when I was younger, I read both of them when I was very young, probably 11, 12, that sort of age. And I just remember being extremely distressed, and I read them from cover to cover, but they affected me greatly. And I vowed never to read a book with animals in it again. However, as you all know, I have recently read A Handful of Happiness, which was gifted to me. The book was gifted to me, and so I felt obliged to read it, although it did take me about 2 years to read it, to actually begin it to read. But I'm glad I did, because it wasn't actually as sad as what I thought it would be. A Handful of Happiness, for those of you who haven't read it or you are not aware of it, it is by an Italian gentleman who comes across a hedgehog that is unwell, and it begins a journey. It's a true story, and it begins a journey of his understanding and love of hedgehogs, so much so that he's then set up a sanctuary to save hedgehogs in and around Europe. So I read that, and I was quite surprised that I found it a beautiful, beautiful story, and it was upsetting, but it wasn't as distressing as what I thought it would be. So Raising Hare, I took the plunge, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. I recommend it. It is there is an element of sentimentality And so there should be. We should be sentimental about the environment and about other species. I think a lot of people, if I may say so, are losing that connection to nature and the connection to other species. I see it personally, a lot of people being quite hard-hearted. They seem to lose their humanity, and you can see it around the world, even just in the news. People are losing their kindness and their humanity, and that in itself is distressing. So this was beautiful. It really renewed my faith in humans. I recommend this. Now, going on from that, I finished it whilst I was away. Sorry, everyone, I'm really itchy. I don't know what's going on. We have the fire on, the wood-burning fire, and I don't know whether it's a little bit warm in here but I really am quite itchy. Okay, so whilst I was away, I drove from Warrnambool along the coast to Port Fairy, which was only around about 20 minutes drive. And I have been on social media with a bookshop called Blarney Books and Art. So it was my intention to go and visit this bookshop. Oh, everyone, I'm so glad I did. You will get to see some footage of the bookshop, but I went into this bookshop. I met the owner, Jo. We got on like a house on fire. She is so informative and knowledgeable on her books, passionate about her books. Blarney Books have been around for about 20 years. I think Jo said she started around about 20 years ago in Port Fairy. It's a beautiful space. She has a lot of authors and things attend for author signings and author discussions with those who are members of the public who are interested. She also has she's in charge of or organises the Port Fairy Literary Weekend. This is for this year. She gave me this card just to remind me that I need to attend this year. I was intending on attending this happens every year, and I was going to attend a couple of years ago, but for some reason, I think I was unwell or I couldn't get the time to get down there. But I've promised Jo that I will go this year. I want to, by hook or by crook, I will get down there. Mark and I have decided we'd like to go down, take the dogs and Flynn, our cat. So we'll probably go into pet-friendly accommodation and spend the weekend at the literary festival. Now, that's all that. But I went into Jo's bookshop, Port Fairy. She's got the literary weekend, but this is the bookshop. And I bought a few books, everyone. So a couple I have already read or started reading, but I want to show you them. So, oh gosh, all the receipts and everything have flown out, everyone, but it doesn't matter. You'll forgive me, I'm sure. Now, before I start, I'll show you these ones first, and then I'll discuss the ones that I've read or am in the middle of reading. So, this is one that I've wanted. This came out this year by Robert Macfarlane. He is one of my favourite natural environment authors. He is English. He writes about the English environment. This is A River Alive? Really, it's hardcover. I'm really looking... Oh, look at that. I didn't see that, actually. Beautiful end paper. So this is... oh, wow. That's the cover of the actual hardcover. This is Robert Macfarlane discussing rivers and what we're doing to our rivers, with those in England, but of course it's happening everywhere. The damage that we're doing, and he really discusses in this, from what I understand, I haven't started it yet, but it's about rivers and the life that they sustain for all creatures, including humans and other flora. I'm looking forward to this, and because it was in hardcover and Jo had it at Blarney Books and Art, I decided to buy it from her. So that's that one. I'll pop that there. The other one I wanted to read was Gail Holmes' In the Margins. Now, this is about, I'll give you a little, I should have read the back, shouldn't I, of that? I'll just give you a little rundown of that. What does it say? Hang on. Is a River Alive is an exhilarating exploration of an ancient, urgent idea that rivers are not mere matter for human use, but living beings who should be recognised as such in imagination and law. The book flows like water from the mountains to the sea over 3 major journeys. The first is to northern Ecuador, where a miraculous cloud forest and its rivers are threatened with destruction by gold mining. The second is to the wounded rivers and lagoons of South India, where a desperate battle to save the lives of these water bodies is underway. The third is to northeastern Quebec, where a spectacular wild river, the Mutaheka Shipu, or Magpie River, is being defended from death by damming in a river rights campaign. Braiding these journeys is the life story of the fragile chalk stream who rises a mile from McFarlane's house and flows through his own years and days. So that's that. Now, this next one I have been wanting also for a little while. Blarney Books had them all there. They're an independent bookshop, I might just say. They're independent, and what I find with a lot of independent bookshops is they have, here in Australia particularly, they have them more unusual. They have a lot of English books that are still relevant to Australia and to our life and our lifestyles, considering that Australia's originated as a British colony in European terms, in European settlement. But I also find that they have the sort of more unusual. They have the mainstream books as well, but there's a lovely focus on the more unusual, or certainly more so than the larger bookshops, perhaps because the larger sort of big corporation bookshops or shops that just happen to sell books that are rather big corporations are not, they're there just to sell the books, and they're not always in love with the books, or they're not passionate about them. But anyway, that's another story. Okay, so this one I've been wanting for a while. I saw it in some social media, quite some, I think this was last year, so I must have seen it about a year ago when it first came out. Yeah, it's first published in 2024 by Ultimo Press. Now, this is, oh, hang on, just a cotton picking minute. Oh, yes, I did. I saw it. Sorry, everyone. I'm just looking. It's the first time that I've gone over these books. As you see, I just took them fresh out of their packet with you. I saw it in England, advertised in England. So this is inspired by a real person. In the Margins is the story of spirited book collector Frances Wolferstan, the woman who uniquely preserved the earliest part of Shakespeare's legacy. And then it says, England, 1647, as civil war gives way to an uneasy peace and Puritanism becomes the letter of the law, Frances Wolferstan, a rector's wife, is charged with enforcing religious compliance by informing on her parishioners. This awful task triggers memories of her mother Alice, who inspired Frances' love of books and secretly practiced Catholicism at great risk. Conflicted, she doesn't report a reclusive and mysterious midwife to delay her going to jail. And so it goes on. I have been looking at this. The cover is just gorgeous. Almost like a tapestry, isn't it really? And very much actually I guess William Morris was inspired with The Strawberry Thief, but it has this theme of the two birds on either side of the flora, which is lovely. But I have a funny feeling, oh yeah, she's Scottish. Gail Holmes grew up in Scotland and now lives in London, I think. So that's that one. Very excited. Now, I'll glance over this next one because I want to go into more detail about the author. This is Australian, an Australian author, Robert Gott. I have once again been looking at Robert Gott. I probably came across his works, it would have to be 18 months ago now, I think. He's an Australian. I've been wanting these books, but couldn't get them, I could get them online, but I was waiting. And lo and behold, I found the whole series at Blarney Books and Art. So, not wanting to be greedy, everyone, I just bought 2 to make sure that I liked his style of writing. Anyway, let's get into this. So this one is The Holiday Murders. It is the first in this series. This is based in Australia, in Victoria. Quite gritty. They're not comfy cozy. Having started one of them, it sort of is a bit cozy, but it's a bit grittier than cozy, and is based here in Victoria. Anyway, I'm excited. This is the first one in the series. There is about 5, I think, 5 or 6 in the series. Anyway, I bought that one. Then, very much like me in my mind, I decided to buy the first in the series and one of the last in the series. Now, there was a reason for that, because I haven't read these by Robert Gott. I wanted to make sure that I liked his style of writing before I bought the whole series. So I bought the first one. Originally, I was of the belief that there were only 2 in the series and that the others were freestanding. But it turns out that it is a series of 5 or 6. So what I did is I bought the last one thinking it was freestanding, you know, a standalone. It turns out it's not. It's actually the last or the second last in the series. But the reason why I was particularly drawn to this one is because it's based in an area that I used to frequent. So it's based in Melbourne in a place called Nunawading. And I worked in that area for a little while, for a few years. So it resonated with me. I just thought, oh, that would be really good, because these are based in wartime Australia. So this one is in 1944. Murder mystery. I may not have said that. I apologise. Murder mysteries. Quite gritty. A little bit comfy cozy, but grittier than that. These are so well written. I started this yesterday or last night, and you can see I'm halfway through it. Now, these are by Scribe. They're published by Scribe, and this one is around about 300 pages. Let me have a look. It's around about 301 pages. I'm, as you can see, nearly halfway through. It's cannot put down a book. If you are really wanting to know, if you're really wanting a good, little bit grittier than normal comfy cozy, but still a bit comfy cozy, and based in Victoria here in Australia by an Australian author, these are brilliant. Really, really well written. There is one thing I will say which shocked me a little bit. This one is based in 1944. Sorry, everyone, that's my bookmark. This one is based in, set in 1944. Now, there are some profanities that are used in here that did shock me. Now, they didn't shock me because I didn't think that they used the language in those days, because I know that the language that's used here has been used for centuries. I know that there are words in here that were used in Shakespeare's time. But what did shock me is that the language was used either by women or in front of women. Now, I'm of the understanding from my own experience, from my own age, that men really didn't, in general society, they didn't swear in front of women, and women sort of didn't really use this sort of language. I mean, obviously, like everything in life, there are exceptions, and of course. But I'm surprised that Robert Gott decided to use that language in this novel in the context that he has. Now, it doesn't take away from the story. It's just my personal opinion, and a bit of shock that he used that language in the context. It doesn't take away from the story, and it's not used prolifically. It was just the couple of times that it's been used, it did shock me a little. So I'll just give you that warning for those of you who don't like profanities in books. As you know, I'm not a big advocate of that, but this is too good a story to let it be dragged down with my opinion of profanity. The only thing I will say is the novel, the story and the writing is good enough to have not had that in the writing. So whether it was used for shock value or to relate to the general reader, I'm not sure, but this is brilliantly written, well enough that it didn't need those profanities. It is absolutely brilliant. The storyline thus far is so intriguing. Just to let you know, there appears to be a staple of characters in this. They all know each other. They've clearly begun in the first novel, and they've continued through. From what I understand in this, they've been through other adventures that have led them to where they are now. I can't say too much because otherwise I'll give the game away. But there are these set characters. Some of them are doctors. Some of them are in the police force, in the homicide squad. Others are doing their own thing. And they all know each other and they all assist each other. However, they also, at this stage, have their own mysteries and their own adventures that they're currently on. So it is one that is not that comfy cozy that you can just be a bit lazy and read just for the delight of it. This is grittier than that insofar as you need to keep your mind on the game, because there are a number of characters who are involved in a number of things that certainly went on in 1944 in Australia, but so that's really it's truthful. It really gets you involved, but be mindful that you have to keep your mind on the game, because there are things going on here. Sometimes I've had to go through and think, oh, hang on, who's that character? Just in the very beginning, because of course I'm new to these characters. So I did have to go back and say, oh, hang on, who was that? It is packed full of different storylines, and I can't wait to see whether they all come together as one story or whether Robert Gott is using them as different storylines, and that they will all come to their own conclusion. But brilliant. Oh my good. I'm going to finish this probably today, I'm hoping, and I'm going to start at the beginning, and then I'm going to contact Blarney Books and I'm going to buy the others that are in between. There's actually one, I think the next one in the series is the Port Fairy Murders. So of course I want to buy the Port Fairy Murders from Port Fairy. So I will do that, and I will also buy the others, and I'll ask Jo. They do have an online website, so you can purchase online, and I'll be asking Jo, the owner, to send me the others, because this is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You get history of the war and how it related to Australia and how it affected Australians, how it affected what they call aliens over here, so the Japanese and Germans and Italians and so forth. It gives you a little bit of different, also soldiers who survived the First World War. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to finish it and read the others. I recommend it. Absolutely. If you're wanting a bit of a murder mystery, but there's more than that. It's not just murder mystery. There are other mysteries involved that wow, he's so good. He's a brilliant writer. And in actual fact, I noticed in this one, which Joe did not tell me, but at the end in the acknowledgements, Robert Gott actually thanks Joe from Blarney Books and Art. He thanks her. He acknowledges her. So that was interesting too, that they have a connection. And I know Joe did tell me that I think she's interviewed Robert Gott, or she's had him at the shop with book signings or something like that. So that was a really wonderful connection. But yes, if you're wanting to know a bit of history, Australia, Victorian history, wartime, what happened to soldiers, what happened to aliens, and then you get all of these other... There's around about, at the moment, I think there's 4 mysteries that are going on. 3 or 4 mysteries. It's just brilliant. I love it. And I can't wait. I'm going to absolutely recommend him. He's just fantastic. Okay. The next one was a book that I have seen for a while. Most of you will have heard of it. Some of you may have read it. I kept my... I kept away from it a little bit for a couple of reasons. One is because I believe that it was connected to a very famous novel of the author's, and I thought that it may actually be really, really sad and something that may actually depress me. And the other reason was because people are raving about it. In fact, people are raving about 2 novels by this author. And as you probably know, even though I do read popular novels, there is something in my back of my mind that always, if something's exploded on the literary scene, I tend to step back from it. I don't always rush to read it. And that may be for a number of reasons. One is I don't always like to follow the crowd. The other is because in the past, when I have read, a long time ago, when I have read popular novels, they have disappointed me. So I tend to keep away, even though some of the novels I've read have become popular since I've read them, or they coincidentally at the same time that I've purchased them and then read them, they actually exploded in popularity. So, and sometimes I've been a little bit curious about the popularity of a novel, and I have, if I've had nothing else to read or the situation demands it, then I will buy it and read it. But when I went to Blarney Books and Art, Joe asked me if I'd read this particular novel, and it's a memoir. And I said I hadn't, and I told her the reasons why, which she understood, but she suggested that I may like this one. She didn't push it at all. Joe is just so switched on and sensitive. She is a really, really good bookseller because she loves the book. She's passionate, and she's one of those people, I think, that can connect a book to a reader, a little bit like Chocolat, the novel Chocolat, where we have chocolates being given to the right person for the right reasons, if any of you have read or watched Chocolat. So, and also the other one that I'm thinking, the Little Bookshop, I'll put it in the subtitles below, the English, I can't, it's just, everything's going around in my head at the moment, so I can't remember, but I'll put it in the subtitles below. Where our protagonist suggests a book for a reader, and that's exactly what Jo does. So she didn't push this, she just dropped it in. And the strangest thing was, I picked it up and I decided to buy it and read it. And the strangest thing was, it turns out that it was the most pertinent and most necessary and most connected novel I have read for myself at that given time. So I will just show you what it is. This is Geraldine Brooks' Memorial Days. Now, Geraldine Brooks is famous for her novel Horse, which is the novel I did not want to read for two reasons. One is because it is exceptionally popular, and the other reason was because I'm of the understanding, and Joe indicated to me, that it is about a horse, and it is quite sad, or there are sad bits through it. So, but having read this, I'm now thinking of delving into buying and reading Horse. And the reason for that is because Geraldine Brooks, in this, her writing was just spot on. It was absolutely beautiful. Now, for a number of reasons. Memorial Days is a memoir. I won't go into it too much, as you know I don't like to, but Geraldine Brooks is an award-winning journalist. Her husband, she's Australian, by the way. She was here and she spent a lot of time here in Australia, but she married an American journalist. They travelled the world, political journalism all around the world. They settled in America because her husband was American. They lived there, they brought their children up there. They travelled to Australia every now and then. And Geraldine says in here that she would love to have lived in Australia, but her husband just couldn't, it didn't resonate with him. He just didn't feel comfortable in Australia full time. So she compromised and lived in America. Now, in 2019, Geraldine's husband was an American award-winning journalist. In 2019, he died whilst on a book tour. Geraldine was in the middle of writing Horse, her also award-winning novel, as it turned out. This book goes through two different timelines, two different locations. One, we are back in 2019 when her husband dies, and the story surrounding that and her experiences in America, which was just appalling, through all the red tape in America after her husband dies. And then we flip to Flinders Island, which is an island here in Australia. I think she went there in about 2022, something like that. This is just released this year, I think. Let me have a look. I'm fairly sure this was published just recently. Geraldine has written quite a few books, but Horse is definitely her most famous. 2025, and this is by Hachette, hardcover. Because it wasn't very long, it's only a couple of hundred pages. That was another reason why I thought, well, it's not going to be an absolute long sobbing mess, turn me into a long sobbing mess. So I decided to buy this. I read it in a day, in an afternoon and a bit of an evening. Everyone needs to read this. Now, this is... it was really quite strange because I picked this up on a day that I was travelling away from home to self-reflect, to find out who I am after what I have been through in the last few years, and also to start a new project. And where does that, for me understanding where that fits in and how I should form it and how I should progress it. Strangely, the serendipity is just unbelievable. Geraldine Brooks, in this, she takes us back to 2019 when her husband dies. In, I think it must have been about 2022, she travels to Flinders Island to find herself, she says in here, I don't want to tell you too much, but she does say in here that if she hadn't met her husband, she believes she would have lived on, or the possibility was that she would have lived on Flinders Island, lived and worked there, or certainly from there. So she goes back to Flinders Island to try and perhaps understand or recapture that part of her life and perhaps understand that sliding doors moment, which is not dissimilar to what I was doing when I went down to Warrnambool and Port Fairy. So this resonated unbelievably with me when I was reading it. But not only that, it was really important. Geraldine talks about her loss and her love for her husband, but she's truthful. It's raw. She's very truthful about her husband and about their life together, what she shares with us. It is, look, it's an incredible and beautiful, heart-wrenching memoir. If you haven't read it, may I strongly suggest you do. It, I could fully understand. So Geraldine also goes to Flinders Island to grieve, and that's a little bit of what I was doing when I went away this last week. There was an element of grief for what I had been through, and look, it's not unhealthy. I'm not saying that it's an unhealthy thing at all. In fact, I think more of us should do that. I think we should actually self-reflect. Taking time, whether it's every year or every few years or or twice in your lifetime, it's really important. Because then you can collect yourself and work out where you're going and where you have been. You have to understand the past to be in the present and then to go into the future. And I strongly believe that. I'm very much a person who looks into the past. I self-reflect a great deal. What have I done? What have I done wrong? What have I said? What have I done right? Is that relatable? Is it transportable to what I want to do in the future? So it's all of those things. And that's exactly what Geraldine was doing too. So for me, this was spot on. Even though the circumstances were different and what she was grieving for or about was different, there was two elements here. She was perhaps not necessarily grieving for a life that could have been before her husband. It wasn't so much that, but there was and she touched on that a little bit. But it was also grieving for her husband. She hadn't had time to grieve because of all this red tape that she'd been through in America after his death. This was just brilliant, and I'm so glad Jo gently recommended it, because this is one I will keep. It is one that I'm going to definitely reread. Possibly what I may do is reread it once a year and take myself away to read it, because it just meant so much to me when I was away and I was reading. I was sitting on my own and reading it. I couldn't stop reading it. I just loved it. So I recommend this. That's her husband on the back. He was only 60 when he passed, which is very young. But she explains a little bit too about that and about his lifestyle and all of that sort of thing. So I recommend this. Absolutely brilliant. And I think I will now venture into horse, but I'll see how I go with that. It may just be a little bit too emotional for me. This just hit the spot and was brilliant. And I don't know. Perhaps I will. I know there's a lot of you out there who have read Horse and you loved it and you recommend it. But for me too, over the last 5 years, we have lost 7 horses to all sorts of things, illness, tragic paddock accidents. So I'm not sure I'm ready yet to read anything sad about any animal, particularly horses. But I may try. So I definitely recommend this. This resonates with me. I can't recommend it enough. It's just beautiful. It is beautifully written, delicately written, but truthful. Just beautiful. Robert got the Orchard Murders and the Holiday Murders, and there's books in between. Wow, I loved it. I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to get into the rest of the series. So that's that. That's those. In the Margins by Gail Palms. Can't wait to read this. I've been wanting this for quite some time. I saw it in social media in England, and I'm really looking forward to it. Another one, Robert Macfarlane. He is one of my favourite nature writers. Is a River Alive? I can't wait to read that too. Now, very, very quickly, I went into a secondhand bookshop in Warrnambool, and I bought these two. Now, I haven't actually seen this before, but this is Typewriter Girl by Alison Attlee. And this is all Betsy Dobson has ever asked is the chance to be viewed on her own merits. But in a man's world, that is the unforgivable sin. So this is in England. This is based in England. I can't wait. I'll let you know how that goes when I do get to read it. Secondhand. It was a secondhand book called Black, White and Red. White, Black and Red, as in READ. Great secondhand bookshop in Warrnambool. Now this other one, I have seen a lot of reviews on this, and I was, just because of what it is, I was interested in it, and so it's secondhand and I bought it. Susanna Clarke, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I know some of you may have read it, but I haven't. So, and this one is about 1,000 pages, so it's going to be a bit of a doozy, perhaps a bit of a winter read, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's it, everyone. That's it for today. The two books that really took my heart are Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks, and Chloe Dalton, Raising Hair. These two really blew me away. I absolutely love them, and they're to be kept on the bookshelf for sure. And possibly I may even reread Raising Hair again, but definitely Memorial Days. I think I will make that a yearly read and go away to read it. Okay, that is it, everyone. Ellie's doing well. We're all doing well. It is cold. By the way, it was raining overnight, so that's exciting. We've had a bit of rain, quite a bit of rain. I don't know how many mil yet, but we haven't checked the rain gauge, but it's enough to have really wet the ground, which is fantastic. We do have the fire going, just to keep the house and us warm and the animals warm, the boys. So that's good, and I think that's about it. I think I've prattled on long enough, but the prattling has all really been worthy of these novels and of Blarney Books and Art. It's an amazing bookshop, and Jo is an amazing bookshop owner. Absolutely brilliant, and I'm looking forward to going down and seeing her again. We will keep in touch. My recommendation is Jo is on social media, and they are on they do have a website, so if you're interested, definitely either get yourself down to Port Fairy or get online and view Jo's books, because they're absolutely brilliant. She does have some beautiful children's books down there as well, so I was interested in those. But I had purchased a few, so I thought I'll leave another purchase for another time. But yeah, she really, really good bookshop owner and beautiful bookshop. Okay, everyone, that is it. I will leave you for now. If I don't get the opportunity to add some of the places I went to at the end of this video, I will certainly do it next week. It gives me the week then to organise the editing of those. And until then, definitely on Saturday, we will next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, we will have Australian Book Travels will have a travel video, and then on Monday I'll see you again for the next book recommendation. But I'm so excited. I absolutely love Robert Gott's writing. So I'll let you know. I will have finished it by next week, so I will let you know. I won't let you know how it ends, but I'll let you know how the novel progresses. Okay, take care, everyone. Enjoy. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you haven't missed us too much this last week whilst I've been away, but definitely have a wonderful week. Enjoy what you're reading, whatever that is, and good eating. Now that we're coming into winter, it gives us the go-ahead to eat more. Okay, everyone, take care. Bye for now.